But to be grateful in the moment is different than just being grateful. And what I realized is I had so much work back then before I came to Germany, so many performances, and so much you're sort of caught up in the stress of the moment of learning your role, of learning, of rehearsing for this oratory or whatever you're doing, that you don't take that moment to just be grateful that even one note can come out of your mouth, And at that moment at this wedding, I realized that, and I promised myself that if ever I could get my career back going again, the way it was here at that time, still here in Germany, that every single time that I got up to sing, didn't matter how large or small, it didn't matter if it was at a friend's wedding or if it was actually a packed house for 1,000, 1,500 people or more, that before I got up there, that I would just say a little prayer of thanks that I am allowed to do any of this.
Stay connected to gratitude. Hit the follow button right now and join thousands of listeners tuning in each week. We're the Gratitude Seekers. Come join us. Hi, Gratitude Seekers, and welcome to a new episode of the Gratitude Podcast. Today, I have a really interesting and out of the ordinary guest. Since the beginning, she's the first opera singer. She's a performance coach and a professional speaker living in Germany. Her topic is presence. She's the co-author of several books in German and will be releasing her new solo book this spring. It's called Dealing with Divas, a mindful approach to improving relationships in your business or organization, in which she helps the reader master two things: to remain calm, centered, and focused while dealing with difficult people, and to reach his or her goal. Her name is Laura Baxter, and she is also a great fan of gratitude, which she thinks is one of the most important emotions that has helped her get to where she is in life. Welcome, Laura.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Do you care to say a few words that I might have missed?
As far as my background, or just how
as far as your background, yeah.
Yeah, actually, there's not a lot more to say about that. I started my career out in the United States, and at some point, it's expected for opera singers in America to come to Europe. And for me, it was always clear for a variety of reasons that I would head to Germany, and got here and stayed. So also for a variety of reasons, mostly I just fell in love with this German guy and married him and stayed with the family then here. Yeah.
That's so beautiful. And Laura, what is gratitude for you? What does gratitude mean for you?
Oh, gratitude. I mean, like you in your search, in my search and working, especially with executives or leaders of all different types, there have been so many studies on what are the emotions that successful people, especially successful people in leadership positions, what are the emotions that they most commonly feel and share with each other. And it has been proven over and over again that one of the most important emotions to feel is gratitude. It's to be thankful for the situation they're in, and the emotion that successful people most commonly, most often feel is gratitude, which once I began reading about studies that had this result, I thought that's amazing. What is it about gratitude that both leads people to success as well as what is it that people who are successful have that make them so grateful for the situation they're in? I mean, what exactly is that? And I can say that the journey that I've been on with gratitude, so to speak, has has changed my life, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that before we got to record, we talked about a certain situation in your life
Yeah.
when you were in a point where you chose to feel grateful and you understood that it's very important to do so. Could you elaborate a bit?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I went from a situation where in the United States, I was touring with the National Opera Company and singing on various stages with different orchestras and everything. And I was having somewhere between 4 and 6 performances a week. And all of a sudden, I came to Germany, where I literally had to start from the beginning again, going and doing auditions, trying to prove myself. And I mentioned before, starting a family here, especially when that happened, and that was relatively quickly after landing in Germany, so within 1 to 2 years. I went from the situation of having all these performances and actually, literally having people see me in the grocery store or something and ask for my autograph to go to a situation where I had no performances, or I would have, this one performance here, one performance there. And all of a sudden, a dear friend of mine got married here in Germany, and she, it was a situation. It was a very, very romantic wedding. Her husband is. Germans don't have royalty anymore, but this was it's a noble. The family was a member of the nobility, and so they actually had this lovely wedding in the family palace, which is a very medieval palace, and it has its own chapel. And at the wedding, she asked me to sing at the wedding, and she also asked her sister to sing at the wedding, which her sister was an opera singer from Vienna. And she asked her sister to sing an aria from Mozart, and she asked me to sing, I think, a gospel song, something something that's fun to sing, but not quite the challenge that I had been having in America. And I remember very distinctly that moment, listening to her sister sing beautifully, a beautiful soprano, thinking to myself, you weren't grateful back then. You didn't. I was very, and to go back, I've always been very grateful, but to be grateful in the moment is different than just being grateful. And what I realized is I had so much work back then before I came to Germany, so many performances, and so much you're sort of caught up in the stress of the moment of learning your role, of learning, of rehearsing for this oratory or whatever you're doing, that you don't take that moment to just be grateful that even one note can come out of your mouth, And at that moment at this wedding, I realized that, and I promised myself that if ever I could get my career back going again, the way it was here at that time, still here in Germany, that every single time that I got up to sing, didn't matter how large or small, it didn't matter if it was at a friend's wedding or if it was actually a packed house for 1,000, 1,500 people or more, that before I got up there, that I would just say a little prayer of thanks that I am allowed to do any of this. And it had sort of for me, an interesting circle of events happened this past weekend. I did 2 concerts with an amazing choir here, and I live in Erlangen. It's near Nuremberg, for those who know Germany. And I actually asked the conductor if we could do this piece. It's a piece that I sang 25 years ago in Durham, in North Carolina. Copland's In the Beginning, and it's for a chamber choir and for mezzo soprano, and it's a cappella, a very difficult piece. If the mezzo soloist makes a mistake, or if the choir makes a mistake, then we're out of there. I mean, it's 70 pages a cappella polytonal, so it was tough.
Wow.
Tough, really tough. And I did it 25 years ago, and I thought it would be nice to do it again. And about 4 years ago, I asked some directors with whom I often work here, I'd like to do this piece. Do you think your choir could handle it? And I gave them the music. And they all said there's only one choir here that can handle that, and that was Volcante. That's the choir that I actually sang this with last weekend. And even that director said no. He said, no way. And then about a year and a half ago, he called me up and he said, okay, I think we're going to do it. And as we were doing this concert, this past weekend. We did 2 different performances of it, both the huge audience. It was wonderful. As we were doing that, all I could think of was exactly, your topic, this gratitude. It was how thankful I am to have this privilege of doing this piece one last time. I assume, I mean, who knows? I may do it more times, but again, after all these years. It's just not a piece that many people get to do because it is so difficult. And I thought again about the situation, that moment where I said, I'm getting to sing, and to sing that little prayer of thankfulness. Yeah.
If you have a headache or feel tired constantly, clean air can be the solution. And in theory, if you want more clean air, you just open the windows, right? Well, not quite. Pollution in general and noise pollution in particular make it a much less desirable option for most of us. But here comes Air Doctor. Air Doctor helps us and our family enjoy cleaner air with fewer odors and better sleep. It uses a 3-stage filtration system that captures particles about 100 times smaller than what most air purifiers can handle. Stuff you definitely don't want floating around your home. We're talking dust, pollen, mold spores, pet dander, wildfire smoke, even bacteria, viruses, odors, ozone, and VOCs, all the invisible things you'd rather not be breathing in every day. And here's the best part. It's whisper quiet. You don't get that constant loud fan noise that so many air purifiers have, so you can sleep or work peacefully. Air Doctor also has an auto mode, which means it's constantly adjusting to keep air clean 24/7. You don't have to think about it. And when it's time to change the filter, it reminds you, so there's no guesswork. 98% of Air Doctor customers say their home's air feels cleaner, safer, and healthier. It's no surprise Air Doctor won Newsweek's Reader's Choice Award for Best Air Purifier. Head to airdoctor.com and use promo code GRATITUDE to get up to $300 off today. Air Doctor comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee, plus a 3-year warranty. An $84 value free. Get this exclusive podcast-only offer now at airdoctor.com. That's airdoctorpro.com using promo code GRATITUDE.
Yeah, exactly. Because sometimes when we see people that are successful one way or another, that have the chance to sing in front of so many people, we automatically think that they are grateful, but we don't. Sometimes we can't see that they are human beings as well, and they still need to focus on gratitude in order to bring it into their hearts.
Yeah. It's not just singers. I think every one of us at some level can relate to getting so caught up in our lives and the work we've got to do that we don't realize how both important that work is and how special it is to have it. And that can be somebody singing on a stage, but it can be a secretary in an office. It can be somebody working in a factory. It could be a farmer. Just to have that privilege of having the ability to do that thing that that God put us on this earth to do, this talent, that's just it's special, very special.
It sure is. And I was thinking if you have some words of wisdom regarding gratitude, a quote or something like this that helps you refocus on gratitude.
Oh, good question. One specific quote in that sense. Let me think about that one, and I'll send that with the podcast. But there are a lot of different things. As far as authors that have influenced my life over the years, one of the ones that had a great influence, especially early on, was Emmett Fox, who has his little 7-day diet book, which is an incredibly small book about positive thinking. But I mean, I now live in Germany, right? So, as you know, Germany has its own reputation about of not being, not having sense of humor or whatever, the stereotypes that we have, which is not true, by the way. But coming from a culture like in the United States, where positive thinking and just do it, this kind of attitude, and in Germany, that's not frowned upon, but definitely viewed a little bit skeptically. I can say that the influence from all those years of literally positive thinking, someone like Emmett Fox, who says, just go 7 days thinking positively about the world around you, and that includes, one of the main things that he says includes gratitude, is so important, so very important. And as far as specific quotes, I'll get back to you on that one.
Yeah, no problem. So I'm sure that like all of us, you have times when it's not as easy to feel grateful in your life. Do you do something specific when it's hard to be grateful?
I am sure there have been moments where I wasn't grateful, but I don't know if this is similar to your journey with gratitude. But after that point that I mentioned, where we were sitting there in that chapel, I was listening to Astrid sing, and since then, I think the one thing that I don't not have is gratitude. That sounds strange, and I'm probably, and I don't mean to. It's not that I'm patting myself on the shoulder saying, "Oh, look at me." It's not that at all. It's, you take everything that's in our lives right now, and right now, obviously, I mean, you're here in Europe. Also the situation with the refugee situation. There are times when I think, I've not finished decorating a room, or I've not finished, got to work in the garden or something of that sort. And oh, it'd be nice if we didn't have that responsibility for whatever aspect. And then I think, you need to stop for a second. You've got a roof over your head, and right now you're safe. And there is, it's, I don't think, I really don't think there's a moment that goes by where I don't think I'm not grateful for everything we've got.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Actually, this is what I'm aiming for, and what I'm aiming for our listeners right now, to cultivate this habit of being grateful, so that as much as possible we live in gratitude. We have a grateful life, a life that, even if it's not perfect, we still choose gratitude, and we still choose to appreciate it with all of its ups and downs, and with all of its beauty. And I think that's great that you live in this state, and I'm sure that it's amazing.
Well, I should say, I mean, obviously, I think one of the triggers is when I find myself complaining about something. Because once you start, when you complain about something, either a large complaint or not, is the moment where you're not being grateful. And I think I'm sure as soon as we're done with this interview, I'm going to think, oh, there's a time where you weren't grateful. But for me, that's one of the triggers. When I find myself complaining or saying something could be better or worse or whatever, at that moment, I sort of remind myself,
Yeah,
you've got
exactly.
this opportunity. Yeah,
exactly, because it's not about being unrealistic that you're grateful all the time. It's about having the habit that will help you overcome the times when you don't feel grateful, or when it's harder to feel grateful. This is what we aim to do here with the podcast. And I think that it's great that you gave this example. But like before, you told me before our interview that you feel that you were very lucky. Do you know of a time in your life that you weren't grateful, like, I don't know, 20 years ago or something like this?
Where I was not grateful, or not in this
Mm-hmm.
attitude of the having the attitude of gratefulness. Oh yeah, I mean that's and it's mostly, it's not, again, I was thankful, absolutely thankful, but if you were to ask me, yeah, are you, thankful to be where you are, I'd say absolutely, and I'm thankful to these people for helping me get there. But that's different than really recognizing. That's beautiful, and that's very important. I don't want to make that any, I don't want to make that light of that at all. But it's a little bit different than living in the moment and being grateful in the moment. And my life, and even today, but especially before back then, my life was full of the next thing. So, okay, now I've got to learn this role, and I've got to sing this thing, and I've got to go to this event, or to this, I've got this responsibility or that responsibility. And being worried about, am I going to sing it right? Have I learned it? Even the difference in this concert that I sang last weekend, when I sang it 25 years ago, and that might be interesting also for your leaders. When I sang it 25 years ago, it was one of the most difficult pieces I'd ever sung. And I sang the concert, just to give you an idea, when I sang this 25 years ago, I sang it about a month before I sang Beethoven's Ninth Symphony of the North Carolina Symphony. And I was in the middle of different operatic performances. So to say that it was one of the most difficult pieces I'd ever worked on it's tough. And back then I was petrified of making any mistake. And before the concert back then, the choir sang another piece, and then we sang this piece. And I was sitting in the green room waiting to go on. And and I my breath was short. I was nervous. I'll be honest with you. I don't like the word stage fright, but if you wanted to give it, that was stage fright. If you want to put it there, yeah. And I had at that time a wonderful mentor. Her name was Nan Burt. And Nan, when I met Nan, she was 92 years old. And she lived to be 106. But when I had my very first conversation with Nan, she knew me from the stage and just, hearing things. And I was going through a really tough time in my life. My marriage had just broken up, all different kinds of things. And I went to her, and because the director I was working with told me I had to go to Nan. We were working on Marriage at Figaro, and I was in a bad accident. And he just, he knew me well, and he just said, "You've got to go and talk to Nan." And I'm like, I'd heard of this Nan Burt. I know her, but, I really don't have time to this kind of stuff. Anyway, and so I sort of forced myself to go to her house, and she had some guests. And so she sort of asked me to sit out on the porch. She'll be done in a second. The guests left, and I was sitting in a rocking chair on the porch. This is in the Appalachian Mountains. And looking at the mountains, and Nan, after everyone left, came and sat in the rocking chair next to me. And she started rocking with me. She's matched my rhythm, and she was rocking. And she told me my life story. I mean, she told me everything about me, and that nobody knew, And I didn't know how she knew that at all. But it was amazing. And she then gave me a pile of about 6 books to take home and read that night, tomorrow, and tell her about it. And anyway, that was Nan. And so I got through actually one book. I did go back and read through one of the books, which was a book called Love is Letting Go of Fear. And that began an amazing journey, both with Nan and with myself, and trying to figure out life. Had also a lot to do with gratitude. And one of the things she told me at one point, which was also out of one of the books that she loaned me, on Emmanuel, I think it was a mantra. The mantra was called "Love is Letting Go of Fear." Sorry, not love is letting. The mantra was "I choose love." And so back to this concert, what I sang last weekend, 25 years ago, I'm sitting there before this concert, and Nan said to me, if ever you're in a situation where you don't know a way out, you're scared or whatever, just starting saying to yourself, I choose love, without knowing what it means, without trying to give it any definition or any meaning, just say it. So at that concert, I started as the choir was singing out on the stage, and I was waiting in the green room. I just started saying to myself, I started out loud because nobody else was there, I choose love. I choose love. I choose love. And it really literally like that at the beginning. And then it sort of just kept coming, even internally, even as I was walking onto the stage to sing our piece. And I can't tell you much about how I sang it back then, because I was just in the moment of singing, and that mantra kept going on in my head the entire time. But afterwards, the conductor, came up and hugged me and said, that was amazing. Did you even notice that you even pulled the choir up in pitch at one point because they were starting to sink, which I didn't notice. And I realized just how beautiful it was. Not the concert, but just the concept of love. Yeah. And that enabled me actually last week just to enjoy it. I knew that that was not going to fall apart, that it would be okay. And I kept thinking about all these memories from 25 years ago. And it was just beautiful. It was really nice. And so what was your original question? It was about a specific time where I really wasn't, was not connected to gratitude or love or however you want to describe it. Definitely. Back then that was often. I was trying to, I was living in the rat race, I think is how we describe it in the business world, and not allowing that sense.
And what would you tell your younger self about gratitude in those moments?
Oh gosh, I would tell my younger self so many things, but I think the biggest thing that I would tell myself is, more than anything, is to live in the moment. It was just to enjoy it. You've got this. Enjoy. And I don't know how many of you listeners have experienced this, but I thought I was living in the moment. I thought I was enjoying it, and I was. There were many things there were many moments where I was in the moment, and many moments I was enjoying. But I think so much of self-doubt came in, and so much of having to get ahead and trying to get ahead, and all of this. I've got to have this big career before I hit 30, and I've got to do this and that. So much of that was there well, there's this saying, youth is wasted on the young. And that's sort of that feeling of, if I could speak to my younger self, I would say, just enjoy it. Just live in that moment. It's going to be not only okay, it's going to be beautiful, and just, keep trying to hone your craft and excel in every, way you can, and enjoy it, and be grateful for every last minute of it.
If you have a headache or feel tired constantly, clean air can be the solution. And in theory, if you want more clean air, you just open the windows, right? Well, not quite. Pollution in general and noise pollution in particular make it a much less desirable option for most of us. But here comes Air Doctor. Air Doctor helps us and our family enjoy cleaner air with fewer odors and better sleep. It uses a 3-stage filtration system that captures particles about 100 times smaller than what most air purifiers can handle. Stuff you definitely don't want floating around your home. We're talking dust, pollen, mold spores, pet dander, wildfire smoke, even bacteria, viruses, odors, ozone, and VOCs, all the invisible things you'd rather not be breathing in every day. And here's the best part. It's whisper quiet. You don't get that constant loud fan noise that so many air purifiers have, so you can sleep or work peacefully. Air Doctor also has an auto mode, which means it's constantly adjusting to keep air clean 24/7. You don't have to think about it. And when it's time to change the filter, it reminds you, so there's no guesswork. 98% of Air Doctor customers say their home's air feels cleaner, safer, and healthier. It's no surprise Air Doctor won Newsweek's Reader's Choice Award for Best Air Purifier. Head to airdoctor.com and use promo code GRATITUDE to get up to $300 off today. AirDoctor comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee, plus a 3-year warranty. An $84 value free. Get this exclusive podcast-only offer now at airdoctor.com. That's airdoctorpro.com using promo code GRATITUDE.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I think that we all need this kind of reminder to remember, actually, to be in the present moment.
Yeah.
For the ones listening right now, you can take that moment to be right now, to be present, to be aware of your feelings, of your surroundings, of everything that's beautiful in your life right now.
Yeah. Oh, please. Yeah, do. Yeah. And that's, I mean, you mentioned at the beginning about the book that I've just written, dealing with divas and other difficult personalities. The focus of the book, the whole purpose of the book is to help the reader, when the reader is dealing with people that he or she finds difficult, is to help that person to stay calm and centered and focused and be in the moment, and to get his or her goals achieved. I mean, the book itself, how it came into being, is in discussing my work with a publisher here in Germany. We talked about what are the possible themes that could be interesting, and she suggested this theme, and I thought how I got to this theme at all is in my work with people. Now, as coming from the stage, I mostly work with executives on their voice, their body language, presence, as you mentioned, how to own the room, and also how to have an inner presence, both the outer presence as well as the inner presence of staying centered and focused, even in very difficult situations. And I realized through this work that one of the things that brings a lot of people out of their center is another person. Mm-hmm. So if I've got stage fright, often the thought is, oh, so-and-so sitting in the audience, what are they going to think? Or, what does the other person think about me? Or that I don't like that person. I don't want to be in the same room with that person, whatever. One of the main things that takes us out of our center are other people that we consider to be divas. Mm-hmm. So the focus, really, of the first half of this book is to help the reader have tools that he or she can use to stay centered and focused, and really, in the moment. And one of the fascinating things when we first started talking about doing this interview, one of the chapters of the book is called the 4 states, or the 4 most powerful states. And those 4 states are the state of forgiveness, the state of love, the state of play, and very, very importantly, the state of gratitude. And so as soon as we started talking about, it's so important, so very, very important, in order to be able to stay centered and focused and in the moment, and have a connection to your strengths, have a connection to your talent, and everything that's important to you in order to be able to achieve your goals.
Exactly. I've seen this happening in my life as well, when I was too much there, like on the outside, and not being centered in my own power, in my own self. It was really hard to deal with situations, because I felt like my power was out there and I couldn't do much about it. Mm-hmm. But when I got back and being present and centered, it all made much more sense, and it was much easier to make things work, actually. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Laura, do you have some people that you are very grateful for that you would like to mention?
Oh, so many. Oh, so very many people. I think probably one of them is the person I already mentioned, Nan Burt, who was, I got to know her, like I said, when she was 92, but we knew each other very closely for a good 14 years before her death. And she was an inspiration. Obviously my parents, especially my mother, she had she had certain also Bible verses that she would give me to kind of keep me in this positive frame of mind, and always believed in me. There are so many, the directors and musicians that I've worked with over the years that, that just keep showing you how beautiful things can be. So there's so many people, and people also like people like you that have this beautiful insight to what's really important in this world. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. I have to agree with you on this part regarding what's really important in life, because we actually I was just thinking about this while we took a break before getting to the actual interview, that there is this saying that it's not it's gratitude that makes you joyful, not the other way around. And I was thinking about the fact that actually gratitude makes you successful, not the other way around, actually, because you can be successful in the eyes of others if you are not grateful, and you can't appreciate the beautiful things that you have in your life. Actually, from my point of view, you're not actually successful.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Both of those. I love that it's gratitude that makes you joyful, not the other way around. But that's beautiful. It really is. Yeah, and as far as success goes, absolutely. I think we all know people who are what we would consider very, very, very successful, but very unhappy. And very discontent with life.
Exactly.
Mostly,
And
mostly because they don't know what they've got, and they're people who are grateful appreciate actually what they've been given.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I was thinking if you have some ways that keep you grateful, if you have some practices that help you with gratitude that you can share with our listeners, so we can do as well.
There are a lot of different things. Probably the most common is that I really one very important thing that actually happened back then, in getting to this path. I mean, today I would say literally the main practice I have today is if I find myself complaining about something, that I just stop and say, how would it be without that thing? So if I find myself complaining about my children, for example, then I, think, oops, actually, there's nothing I'm more grateful for than my children, and then my family, my husband, and so therefore, what am I saying when I'm complaining? Yeah. So that's my main trigger today. Back then, there were two things that I did. I kept a journal back then all the time, anyway, about life, which I would recommend to anyone, because when you write down your thoughts, you're actually you're noticing patterns in your thoughts. And the other thing that I did was I kept a separate journal, and that was a journal. I worked with a conductor who, Glenn Cortese, he said back then, he gave me some compliment, I can't remember what, and I just dismissed it totally, So let's just take I don't remember what the first compliment was, but let's say, you sang that well or whatever. And I just said, oh yeah, but I could have done that better and that better. And he just looked at me, he said, the appropriate answer is thank you. I thought, what? And he said, I've noticed that every time you get a compliment, you just dismiss it, that could be better, this could be, whatever. He said, you've got to take that moment and be grateful for it. And I realized that I was not accepting compliments at all. So I actually started a separate journal, which I called my compliment journal. It sounds very strange, probably to many people. But literally, I would write down every compliment someone told me. And I made the rules myself for me, but the rule was I had to write every single compliment down, regardless of what the compliment was, without judging it. Just write it down, regardless of whether I agreed with it. That was not said, I have nice eyes. And, without judging it at all, basically without judging it at all, I wrote these compliments down, and that really changed my view of the world around me. I began to hear compliments, and I began to recognize my own dismissal. That was one of I think one of the key experiences in turning that whole mentality around.
Yeah, I think this is awesome. And we want to feel appreciated. This is how we work as human beings. And if we don't receive that appreciation, even if people give it to us, it's like a gift. If we don't receive it, or we throw it somewhere, we won't be able to enjoy it. And I think this is a great tip that we can all use to really take into consideration what people are saying, the good things that people are saying about us, because most probably most of us, if someone says something bad about us, it most probably he will think about it a lot.
Yeah.
Much more than we would think about when it would be a compliment. So I think this helps us rewire how we think, and this is actually awesome. We should definitely do this. So gratitude seekers, make sure you do this. I think it's really, really great, and it helps us not focus as much as we did on the bad things that people say about us, and more about the good things and the compliments. Yeah, this is awesome. Yeah. We are nearing the end of our interview today. I would like to know more about your book, about when it will come out.
Well, we've decided to do something very special with this book. I'd like to reach as many people as possible. So the book will actually be available in the Kindle version starting May 8th. And we've decided for the first 2 full weeks, so at least until May 22nd, that if your listeners are interested in getting the book, that they can go to Kindle and they can download the Kindle book for free for the first 2 weeks. And then after that, then the physical book and the Kindle book will go on sale. I would just love to reach as many people as possible during that time, so that those who can use these information, everything that's offered in the book, how to improve relationships, how to better understand the person you're working with, or even in your private life dealing with, that they have the opportunity to get that. And I should say one thing, very important point about the book, because I think many people will hear the title, Dealing with Divas. We've got kind of this collective feeling of what a diva is. They sort of think the stereotype of a diva is somebody who's very dominant, very bigger than life. They come into the room, they own the room, they order everyone around. People, the truth is that we find people who are not like us to be divas. In other words, a person who's got a very dominant personality, that person will find other people with dominant personalities attractive. They find that people who are more introverted and who take too much time to make a decision or something, they find them to be divas. They're trying to control the situation by not saying anything or whatever. So the definition of diva itself is very relative, depending on what your personality is. So a diva, someone we find to be difficult, is most commonly somebody who's just different. And if we can understand how they think and how we think, then we can actually, it's a lot easier to build these bridges. So the focus of the book, the first half, as I mentioned before, is really your inner strength, how to be strong no matter what comes at you. And the second half is understanding the other person and understanding yourself, and then building these bridges to be able to actually work with the person to get your goals done, regardless of whether or not you like the person. It's not at all about becoming friends with the person. that may or may not happen, but it's really about building those bridges and about being centered and focused and calm and in the moment for you yourself as a reader. So the first 2 weeks, so from May 8th to the 22nd, is done. The book is online for free, and also anyone who's listening to this after that, so you can't take advantage of that particular offer. Anyone who's listening to this after that, buy the book and send me a copy. We'll put my email address in here. Send me a copy of your receipt, just that you, or a screenshot also would do. And I will send you a link to a webinar just for you about dealing with divas, and also and I will send you a certificate for 10% off of any seminar or any other program that we may be offering in this, both in this area, and also, for example, one seminar that's coming out online in the summer from me is called From Stage Fright to Stage Might. So overcoming stage fright. So these programs, I'll send you a certificate for a discount on these, and a webinar just made for you.
That's great. That's great. So I'll make sure I will link it in the show notes that you can find on www.georgianbenta.com. You will see there the link to the Amazon book, and every other resource that Laura mentioned. So make sure you go there, and also, if you haven't done that already, please make sure you subscribe to the Gratitude podcast, so you can listen to other amazing stories like Laura's, and we can keep in touch. So thank you so much, Laura, for being here with us.
Thank you, George,
and for sharing your life story and everything that you shared with us. It was amazing, and I wish you a lot of success with your book.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks very much. And thank you to all the listeners for being here.
Hey, Gratitude Seeker, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this interview. I really appreciate it. And if you could think of one person that would also benefit from it, share it with them. It might actually be the inspiration that they need to make their day, or maybe even their life, much better. Thank you so much once again. This has been Georgian Benta. Don't forget to keep seeking and spreading gratitude.